From the AM/FM 24/7 radio network, broadcasting from AM and FM stations around the country. Welcome to the Small Business Administration award-winning School for Startups Radio, where we talk all things small business and entrepreneurship. Now, here is your host, the guy that believes anyone can be a successful entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship is not about creativity, risk, or passion, Jim Beach.
And welcome back to School for Startups Radio. Again, thank you so much for being with us today. I am very excited to introduce you to an incredible entrepreneur and speaker, a mentor, and even a music producer. We're going to get into that. Jeff Hoffman has been all over the world as a speaker. He has spoken in over 150 countries. He is also on boards of companies all around the world. He is one of the guys behind the Priceline.com team and has also done lots of other public and private companies as the CEO. He has been featured on little places like Fox News, Fox Business, CNN International, Bloomberg, CNBC, ABC, NPR, and has been written about in Forbes, Time, Fast Company, Wall Street Journal. Get this, he achieved the Lifetime Achievement Award from the National CEO Council. He has been awarded the Champion of Entrepreneurship Award from JP Morgan, Chase Citibank, and Rising Tide Capital, and he won the George Brown Award for International Cooperation. And if all of that is not enough, he has produced Grammy Award-winning albums for people like Elton John, Britney Spears, and NSYNC. Jeff, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me today.
Why music? How does I don't understand, Jeff, how music fits in with all of this other incredible stuff you're doing. Why do you take time to go make an album when you could go start a company like Priceline and make William Shatner famous again?
By the way, the William Shatner thing, part of it came from his album. He did an album post Star Trek that was rated by some like the worst album in music history.
I can believe that.
Which is part of where we got the idea. The original Priceline commercials were actually William Shatner singing in a nightclub. So it also started and ended with the singing thing. But music's just always been a passion, and I think that the common link between seemingly different things is doing things that you're passionate about. I just happen to have more than one passion, but when you focus on things that you just really love doing, you're just going to do better at those things. So music was always a passion, and we applied our same level of sort of focus and teamwork on albums that we did on launching businesses.
All right, I have to ask you this. This is totally unplanned, and we're going to digress a second already. One of the beliefs of this radio show is that if you're not passionate about something, you should start a business anyway, because maybe you'll discover your passion down the road, right? If you're sitting on the sofa right now wanting to be an entrepreneur but haven't discovered your passion yet, still go start a business that you can be passionate about, the lifestyle, the process, the freedom that comes with entrepreneurship. And maybe later you'll discover something that you truly do love and can apply that passion to something later. What do you think about that, Jeff? Is that crazy talk?
It's not crazy talk, and here's why. Most people spend their lives sitting, I literally observe this with my own friends, sitting on the couch Friday night and saying, okay, next year I'm really going to go after my dream. This December, I'm really going to quit this job and do my startup. Everybody has a dream. Everybody talks about it, but nobody does anything. And even if you're uncertain, the only way to find out what you like, what you don't like, what works and what doesn't, is to get off the couch, get out there and do something. So I completely agree with your philosophy that once you're in the mix, I sort of use this analogy. I tell people that entrepreneurship is not the result. Startups are not the result. They're the tool to get somewhere. And I literally have written on my board, I wrote down entrepreneurship is the shovel you use to dig a path to a brighter future. Well, here's the thing. Some people sit on the couch and say, I'm afraid to start digging because what if there's pipes there? What if there are wires? What if the ground is too hard? What if there are rocks? You don't know any of that until you pick up a shovel and start digging. When you start digging, you find the rocks, you find the pipes. People walk along and say, hey, what are you digging? And you say a new path, and they say, can I help you? Everything happens once you pick up the shovel and start digging. So I completely support your philosophy. because once you're off the couch doing something, you'll start to find out what you like, what you don't like. Things will happen that will never happen if you're sitting safely on the couch.
I love it. That's a great story and a great analogy. Did you love your first venture? What was the very first entrepreneurial thing that you did, Jeff, and were you passionate about it?
Yes, and I will tell you, what drove me most, the very first company I had happened to be in the travel space, too. I was 20-something, quit my big engineering job at the big engineering company because it was just driving me nuts. And what I wanted, what I was passionate about, more than the concept initially, which again supports your idea of do something, was that I was passionate about freedom. I could not stand the environment that I was in. And to be honest, my boss made me nuts. I literally thought the guy was a moron. This was just in this individual case, but it made me nuts every day to not have freedom. I had to follow the orders. In fact, one day I was sitting in staff meeting, drawing a picture of lemmings lining up and following the lead lemming off the cliff. I did not see my boss walk over, and he said, quote, "Is that picture supposed to symbolize something?" And I got to tell you, Jim, I bit my tongue so hard it bled not to say anything. That literally that summarized everything, that he couldn't even figure out the symbolism of lemmings in his staff meeting. But I wanted freedom, and I was very passionate about freedom and saying, I'll work as hard as I have to work to have my own job, my own company, and my own environment where I never have to feel the way that I feel right now. So I did have a passion. The passion was for freedom. I didn't know what my passion was business-wise, as you said earlier, until I started something, and then I started to find passions.
I love it. That's what we call that the corridor principle. You have to start walking down the corridor before you can see what's in the rooms on the other side. And
Absolutely.
I love it. You also, Jeff, are the author of a book called Scale: 7 Proven Principles to Grow Your Business and Get Your Life Back. Can you give us a couple of those principles and tell us about the book?
Sure. So I think the most important thing is probably why we wrote the book. And I run into so many small business owners and entrepreneurs that say, I'm stuck. And I said, what do you mean stuck? And there's always two things. One part of stuck is we launched the business and grew it to this level, and it just won't seem to grow anymore. I just feel stuck. I don't know how to make my business keep growing. The other thing that people say they're stuck in is, now that I have my own business, it seems like I work all the time, and I'm stuck in the business. I'm always at work. I'm always thinking about it. And the whole premise of the book is how to fix both those things, right? What you have to do to enable your company to be able to grow, and what you have to do to design your company so that you're actually working less and producing more. That's the premise. And that has to do with a lot of things like, for example, internal systems. There's a lot of things that we see business owners doing themselves by hand because that's the way they had to do it when they started. And they don't realize that as their business has grown, there are tasks that they can delegate, there's things they can outsource, and there's things they can automate. So we talk about how to take stock of everything that you do and how to achieve things like outsourcing, delegating, and automating so that you actually work less every day at your office. And we also talk about some of the things that it requires in those same spaces, like internal and external systems and controls, the things that you need to put in place that enable your business to scale so that you're not the bottleneck that's preventing it from growing.
Why are entrepreneurs so reticent to outsource and delegate? Why do they hate that so much? Is it a control thing, or do they just not trust the people they've hired?
It's both. Again, we've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and small business owners, and, they say, hey, this was my idea. I'm the reason we're here. I got us this far. So they get an inflated sense of self-worth. And in the early days, that may be true because you have no employees, you have no money, so you have to do everything yourself. But the most successful entrepreneurs are the ones that one day look around and say, look, the truth is, there's no business person that's a brilliant marketer, a brilliant accountant, a brilliant engineer, right? We're all good at probably one thing. And there are people smarter than you and better than you at every other area. So if marketing is your knack, there's a day you wake up and say, I shouldn't be doing the finance stuff. I should get someone smarter than me. And you say, I shouldn't be doing product design. I should get engineers that are smarter than me. So you realize that you bring in all-star players at every other position except the one you're pretty good at, and stay out of their way. Hire the best and then let them do their thing. When you change your focus from doing everything yourself to spending your time out in the world trying to find people who are smarter and better than you, that's when your company really starts to scale. But you have to trust those people, which means letting them make mistakes, empowering them. And if you don't, because you think you're smarter than everybody, which you never are, you just never grow. You're stuck. You're the bottleneck, the reason your company can't grow. So it's really important to be able to let you check your ego at the door and find people better than you.
Why do customers really want to do business with me? Jeff, we're back to the book, principle number 3. It's entitled, Understand Why Your Customers Really Do Business with You. What's the answer to that? It's because I have a great product at a great price, and I'm really attracted. They just want to buy from me, Jeff, because I'm so beautiful.
So the real focus of that chapter is a hard-learned lesson, and I'll tell you a story really quick. At the time, we were involved in music tours, doing concerts, charity events, etc. And I happened to be on the road with the band NSYNC, the Justin Timberlake group at the time. And the guys were doing an appearance in Times Square, New York. And we were in one of the world's biggest music distribution companies there. And I was watching customers come in. And back then you had to buy a CD. Customers were coming in and buying CDs. And I started thinking, I asked the owners of this music chain, I said, why do people do business with you? And why do they come here? What do they come to you for? And it's a question that I would challenge all of your listeners to ask themselves. Ask everyone at your company, why do you think people come here to our company? And write the answer down. So he said to buy CDs. And as I watched, I said, I don't think so. And he said, what do you mean you don't think so? Look out the window. Everyone's here to buy CDs. I said, nobody wants a CD. He said, Jeff, do you know how many million CDs a year we sell? And he said, right, but no one wants one. And he said, I don't understand what you mean. And I said, when people wake up in the morning, no one is saying, geez, I wish I had a round piece of plastic with a hole in the middle. And they don't want a CD. He said, sarcastically to me, he said, okay, then what do they want? I said, people wake up in the morning, all they're thinking is, I really wish I could hear that song right now. They want to hear a song. They have to buy a CD. He said to me, what's the difference? Well, we know the difference. The music industry subsequently failed to invent the iPod or iTunes. The music industry lost billions because they thought in the morning when people wake up, they just wanted to buy a CD, when in fact, all they wanted to do was find the fastest way to hear that new song. So I went back to my own people, and I said in our company, I said, why do people come here and why do they do business with us? And they said, people come here because they want to buy an airline ticket. And again, I'm going to challenge you listeners, ask this question. And I said, I don't think anyone wants an airline ticket. And they said, Jeff, are you nuts? Everybody comes to our website and buys airline tickets. Well, here's the truth. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, geez, I wish I could go through, drive to the airport, pay expensive parking, stand in the TSA line, sit in the middle seat, get no food. No one wants an airline ticket. And the question is, what do they want? And the answer is, they just want to go to their sister's wedding. They don't wake up in the morning saying, geez, I wish I could buy an airline ticket. They wake up saying, geez, I got to get to my sister's wedding. So for all of us, that's the question to ask. What is your customer really coming to you for? What problem are they solving? Because it's probably not buying the thing you sell. They're buying it because they have to solve another problem. Once you find that, you really are a much more effective marketer. When we started telling people, don't worry about it, we'll get you to your sister's wedding, we connected on a much deeper level with people than we did when we said, hey, you need an airline ticket, we'll sell you one. So that's the story behind that. But when we learned it, it was very powerful.
And then what is the future of the music industry? Is Pandora the future? Have we finished the evolution of that industry now that we have iTunes and music pretty much on demand? Do you think that is the conclusion of our path in that industry?
I do not. I will tell you, and this is just my editorial opinion, but I will tell you from working in the space, I'll tell you, I don't know how many more evolutions are, but I'll tell you what I think the next one is. The next one is, with all this social media and communications technology, the next level will be connecting. So what you talked about tools like Pandora, Spotify, etc. These are tools that say, I know what kind of music you like, so I'll find that music for you. But it's finding that music after it's created. The next evolution will be the band is in the studio, and they're saying, wow, we're trying to think of what songs to create for this album, and fans are involved in the creative process. Well, we love it when you guys sing love songs, and we love it when it has a hard driving beat. I'm making up examples. It's the use of social media in the upfront process where musicians are in conversations with fans that they can never do in the physical world, and fans are helping them make creative choices that both the artist and the fan will love when the song's released. That's what I think is the next evolution.
That reminds me of a company down here in Georgia. It's a clothing online distribution company, sales company. And the way they choose their product is they go to the trade shows, and the owner takes pictures of all of the stuff and posts it online and says, which one of these do you want to buy? And whatever gets the most, traction before she's even purchased it, she then goes into the trade show the next day and buys that dress, and it's on the website a week later. That's, you're right. That is a fantastic model. How do we then apply that to travel and Priceline? The only thing that I can think of for the evolution of the travel industry is some sort of William Shatner, here we go with him again, beam me up Scotty technology that allows me to skip airplanes altogether, just the way that airplanes allowed us to skip trains altogether.
Believe me, as soon as someone has that, we'll be all over that. I a lot of times close my eyes in the airport line and wish I could beam somewhere.
We all do.
But I think it's that same level of personalization in travel as well, that, different people have different requirements. Some people really can. For example, I went to a hotel recently that someone put me up in, and I had no desk. There was nowhere to set up a laptop except sitting on the bed and setting it in your lap. Literally had no desk. So I started thinking, every type of traveler. There are people that care more about the swimming pool than they do the bed because they're on the road with their kids. There's people that care more about the desk and the internet speed than they do about whether it has any facilities, pool at all. So I think that we'll see that same level of what do you as a customer want, and how do we match you with exactly the thing you care most about.
All right. Yeah, the thing I want is just to get there as quickly as possible, and it seems like the travel industry is going in the other direction, not Priceline, not the aggregators, but when I think of Delta, United, American, Southwest, it seems to me that they just want to make it as difficult as possible and as unpleasant as possible, but that's my opinion. Did you actually go up on stage and get a Grammy Award? Is that how that played out?
So we produced this was a jazz album last year on our music side. And we produced this album, really it's a labor of love for example, the money that I put up for the album, I never really expected to see it back. We were producing it because we love jazz and we wanted to tell the story of jazz, and jazz has its roots. A lot of people will tell you that rock and roll is a direct descendant of jazz, etc. So the album was created by a group of producers and artists for the love of jazz and respect of it, but it was an unbelievable thing first to find out we got nominated, and then I went with our head producer to the Grammys. There we are all dressed up on the red carpet, and then we're inside sitting on the thing we usually see on TV, and then they say the Grammy goes to, and it was us. So it was a once-in-a-lifetime unreal experience. But I will say this, a lot of passion and discipline went into the creation of the album the same way we've launched all of our startups. So I think that some of the principles of just good entrepreneuring should be applied to everything you do in life, and we applied that to this album and wound up winning the Best Jazz Album category.
And that's interesting. It seems to me that you've only worked with some pretty classy acts. Justin Timberlake to me seems to be a really smart guy who is as professional as a person could be. Of course, Elton John, the same way. They have the passion and the discipline, as you just said. Would you work with some, pot smoking, guitar throwing out the window type band who, they're the next hot thing, damn it, but you have to record them at 4 a.m. when they get done with their binge?
For our company, no.
So I love looking at people who do it professionally. All right, Jeff, I don't know if you have any kids or not, but let's assume you've got an 18-year-old boy and the kid comes up to you and says, Daddy, I want to follow in your footsteps. What are the one or two things that I need to really focus on to be a hyper successful entrepreneur just like you've been, Dad? What would you say to Jeff Jr.?
All right, two things. First of all, one we already touched on quite a bit, which is it doesn't matter what you have a passion for. Have a passion for something. There's got to be something in your life that lights your fire, and that's the thing you should spend your time on. When you're doing something that doesn't even feel like work because you love it so much, your energy level is much higher, your commitment is higher, and therefore your odds of success are higher when people do that. And I think the second lesson, since you said do, was one time a reporter said to me, hey, Jeff, what's the secret to success? And I remember, this was on live television, I remember being sort of taken aback. And she said, you seem surprised. And I said, yes, because the secret to success is there is no secret. Quit looking for it and go do some work. So my second advice to Jeff Jr. would be you should be the hardest working person you know at the time when you're in this launch. When you've got some dream that you absolutely must give birth to, do not expect and do not look for shortcuts. Do the work. And I see a lot of people, sometimes I'll see people now that say, oh, Jeff's so lucky just because I've had success. And I say, that's great, except all those nights you were asleep or out at a party or whatever, I was earning this. The trail of blood, sweat, and tears that lead up to someone's success is the part that a lot of people don't want to see. You have to put in the work, and there's nothing worth having ever comes easily. That would be my second piece of advice.
I love it. I love it. And, let's go back to Jeff Jr. here. Hard work, having a passion for something. These are the things that I don't see in millennials very much. Jeff, I was a university professor for 9 years, taught 250 kids a semester, and so many of them are satisfied living in their parents' basement, satisfied waiting for something to just come up and hit them on the head as an opportunity. They don't seem to care about anything, so many of them. Not all, of course, but a huge chunk. Do you share a concern for our current youth generation, the thing I'm seeing, or am I just a curmudgeon?
No, you're not just a curmudgeon. Here's an example. One of the things that is killing this country is every kid gets a trophy.
Exactly.
Are you kidding me? You know what that teaches kids? That why put out any extra effort because you get the same trophy as the kid that stays after and practices hard. It's the death of a nation when every kid gets a trophy. It creates laziness. And to some degree, so does the American Idol nation. And what I mean by that is when kids think, well, the old way was I would do my vocals, I would rehearse, bands would practice every day. Singers would do vocal lessons. But here's choice two. Instead of doing any hard work night after night, I could just stand in line at American Idol and hope they spot me. So there's the 1 in a zillion chance that I could get discovered overnight, or I could work for it. It's sort of like saying, you know what, I'm not going to get a job. I'm just going to buy a lottery ticket every day, and eventually one of these days I'll win the lottery, so I never needed a job. Really, that's not much of a plan A. So I agree with you that the American Idol nation, they just stand in line instead of working and hope someone spots you, or everyone gets a trophy just for showing up. That's creating entitled, and I'll use the horrible word, lazy individuals in many cases.
Yes, I agree. Sir, how can we find out more about you, follow you on that social media thing we keep hearing about, and buy some airline tickets from you?
Well, I hope that there's a lot of Priceline.com users listening, but nonetheless, my Twitter handle is Speaker Jeff, and my website as well is jeffhoffman.com, where you can find information about our book Scale or about some of our other activities.
Fantastic. Sir, thank you so much for being with us today. I want to ask you one political question, but I don't want a political answer. I'm concerned that none of the Democrats or Republicans, the politicians, anyone running for president, don't talk about small business enough, that it doesn't seem to be the focus of the conversation. Instead, we're talking about lions who got killed and who's lying and who's whatever, blank, blank, blank. I think that, well, we all know that small business drives America, creates all the new jobs. Priceline created thousands of new jobs out of the blue, and it brought William Shatner back to the forefront. So thank you so much for doing that. No one seems to be talking about the most important thing to revive our economy, which is small business. Do you agree with me on that too, or am I off base?
I completely agree. As a matter of fact, I recently was able to meet the new presidents right before they became president in two of the world's biggest countries, Modi in India and Joki, as his nickname is, in Indonesia. And both of them actually became presidents of their countries on a platform of entrepreneurship. Like, for example, Modi had 4 platforms for the future of India. And in words, he wrote out, entrepreneurship is key to the future of India. Indonesia did that as well. Countries are recognizing that small business rebuilds, creates jobs, and builds infrastructure. And our politicians, I agree with you, are simply not giving it the respect and importance that it needs.
Well, it makes me hard to figure out who to vote for. There was an article in the paper a couple of days ago that the CEO of Starbucks may run for president. And I was like, I like that because he's an entrepreneur, and I bet he supports entrepreneurship. Anyway, Jeff Hoffman, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been quite an honor. We were lucky to get you on the show today. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you very much.